So guys, starting from the first module, whatever we have discussed. So first thing is whatever we completed in this particular internship, online internship, which is provided by Blackbucks. So the whole curriculum is completely intended towards the ethical hacking. So this is basically curriculum which is basically covering 50% of ethical hacking, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing. So these are all the fields that you can get into after completing this whole course. So starting from information security, whenever it comes to ethical hacking, first one is you need to basically understand the fundamentals of information security, where we have discussed about how organizations basically secure their data. So guys, whenever it comes to the security part, we discussed about the customers, that is basically the consumers or customers ID, customers information. So whenever it comes to customers information, it is basically the public information. And whenever you go for the employees, that is basically one of the organization security perspective, then definitely it is basically going to be securing the employees data. So one is employees data, one is normal people data who are basically non-working, who doesn't have any concern towards the organization, but they basically take the services from that particular organization. So either if you go for Amazon, a buyer or a seller data is going to be the public data, which is completely coming under the customers data. And whenever you go for the employees data who are working in Amazon, they are basically going to be the organizational data, that is organizational security, which basically intended towards securing the employees data. Now, if we move forward, whenever you go for any of the security breaches, so how exactly it is happened and what is the exact output of that security breach? So whenever organizations like eBay, so here we have our first case study, that is eBay. So whenever you go for organizations like eBay, so they basically doesn't have any kind of secured infrastructure or secured architecture. So whenever they basically don't follow the right security patterns, right security architecture, and they are not intended towards the high security uh, establishment, so that time exactly what will happen is, so either it is vulnerable. So whenever you go for any organization, either it is vulnerable towards the organization, data is vulnerable towards two ways. So either it is organizations, that is employees data, or else it is going to be the customers data. So either a customer is going to do something by which data breach can happen, either an employee can do something by which data breach can happen. Now here in this case, in eBay, employees data is basically the data which got breached, which got uh, by whatever the employee did. By using that, by that scenario, the output is going to be that the data got breached. Now whenever you go for this, so here in eBay case study, we got a something attack called as phishing attack. So phishing attack is nothing but the attacker will basically create a fake URL, and then he will basically send it to the employee or any customer. But in eBay's case, it was employee. So he basically sent it to a particular eBay's employee. So once that employee basically saw that, he tried to fill the username password. That is basically the employee eBay's login ID. So to use the eBay company's resources, the organization resources, there is basically an username and password authentication. So he basically tried to do that authentication, but the username and password went towards the attacker. They didn't basically go towards the organization's database or organization server, but that was basically for data was basically forwarded to the particular attacker. Now here, what is exactly happening during this whole scenario is, whenever this employee basically gives the username and password, that time the attacker will try to log in, and he will basically try to upload some malware or virus. So whenever he basically uploads some malware, so everyone know that malware is basically a remote code, a piece of malicious code which could be executed by its own. So whenever you try to upload such kind of malware or something in this particular company's portal or company's database or company's server, wherever you want to do it, so whenever that particular malware is uploaded, then it will start infecting the data, and it will help you to remotely build a connection with the infrastructure of the organization. So same thing here, whenever you go for this employees data employee. So what this employee did, he basically tried to give the exact information. Now here during this, whatever in the backend malware was sent to an eBay's company's infrastructure. That time customers data, that is 145 million customers data has been breached, and in that customer names were there, encrypted passwords were there, email addresses, postal addresses, and contact numbers, date of birth. So these are all completely customers data, which is 145 million customers data. So whoever was the customer, whoever was the direct buyer on eBay website, the whole data got breached. So in this, customer is not the person who is basically did something. He is not the exact victim. But here what happened, due to some employees mistake, all the customers have been facing the problem. The same thing whenever you go for organization's data, if you don't have the right architecture, if you don't have the right firewalls, right isolated databases or something like that, then definitely your data is completely vulnerable on the internet. Now, we basically discussed something like whenever you go for Google is one of the biggest organization. Whenever you go on internet and search for the top companies in the world or something like that, so there in at least in top 10 or top 5 you will get a name called as Google. So whenever you go for this Google has basically a product called as Google Play Store, where you can completely download, upload all the applications. So during this, exactly what happened is a person called Ismail Belic, that is a Turkish hacker. He tried to hack the Google Play Store, and he basically found a vulnerability. After finding the vulnerability, he tried to exploit it. So whenever he tried to exploit it, the uploads and downloads on the Google Play Store. So developer, once he develops an application, he will try to upload it on Google. And whenever a user is there, he will try to download an application from Play Store. So uploading and downloading both got stopped for some period of time, and there was some millions of loss for the Google Play Store. So organizations like Google also are intended, they are also having vulnerabilities, but to find the right vulnerability, you need to have the right expertise. And finding a vulnerability is nothing but you need to report that vulnerability rather than exploiting it or causing damage to the organization. So that is the thing you need to maintain. Now, whenever you go for an organization's data, to save that, to completely safeguard the data, completely safeguard the employees' data, employees' email IDs, employees' drive data, whatever is being saved on OneDrive or any of the drive, you definitely need to use something called as CIA triad. So I guess everyone know what is CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Confidentiality stands for not sharing the employee's data, that is securing the employee's data. So integrity is nothing but data not getting tampered by any of the attack, and availability is nothing but you are making the services available. So these are basically three different pillars, CIA triad. So this is basically a triangle which should be followed by each and every organization. So now in 2020, from 2020 to 24, in this last 5 years, so each and every organization will definitely take care of this CIA triad, because when organizations like Amazon and Google are getting cyber threats, and they are basically going on a cyber security, they are basically getting the data breaches and all, where the data is getting leaked, then definitely small organizations or small startups, they definitely need to follow something called a CIA triad, which will definitely help them to secure the data. Now, one more thing, as in CIA triad, we got something called as policies. So whenever you're saving the data, whenever you're uploading the data, whenever you're downloading the data, they basically try to limit your data usage. So each and every user will have some limit. If you want to cross that limit, then definitely you need to get a permission from a higher authority. You need to confirm your identity. You need to do the authentication. You will basically, you're going to look for the checkup of you basically are going to prove your identity. If you basically prove the identity and complete the authentication, then only you can move forward. So there are basically definitely some kind of limitations have been kept whenever there is data usage part. Due to this data usage limitation, lot of data, that is basically, rather than losing 100% of data, the organizations are losing only 30% of data in any kind of attack. So that is the main thing. Now, whenever you go for threats of an organization, so each and every organization will definitely have some kind of threats. So what are the major threats which are basically being affected, which are basically in the market by which organizations are being affected? So first thing is cloud computing threats. The reason why cloud computing threats is on the first number is because each and every organization is definitely using cloud these days. So either storing the data, running operations, or uploading the data, or going for the testing, production. So the reason why they are using cloud is because the infrastructure hardware is not required. The complete virtually they are running it online. So it doesn't cost them much, and also it is safe. It is 99.9% in a working mode whenever you're trying to work. So there is basically less failure rate. So that is why people are moving towards the cloud usage, cloud usability. So that is why cloud computing threats are being increased, and software access is there, hijacking is there. So whenever you go for software access, or whenever you go for hijacking, so software access is nothing but, guys, whenever you go for an right authentication methods, right authorization in your particular product, then definitely you will have a good security. But if you're not going for the right authorization, you're giving access to the whole complete product to anyone, then definitely if there is a no limitation, definitely there will be a misuse. So hijacking is there, data leakage and data loss is there, denial of service. I guess everyone know that DOS attack, how it will be done. So DOS attack intention is to basically make the server of any of the website unavailable for some period of time, so that it loses its customers. So we will basically gain some kind of privilege, some kind of profit, or some kind of, you can tell, if you go for a competitors, two different competitor companies. So if one company basically executes a DOS attack on the another, that is a competitor, so that time what will exactly happen is the customer will automatically come towards the company which is available online. So that is why people use DOS attacks to eliminate the competition in the market. Now, insecure APIs are there. So I guess everyone know application programming. What is application programming interface? So application programming interface will allow you to use the another website's services on your particular website without any kind of a higher development or any kind of anything. So the link between the information sharing between one website to another website, whatever information you want to take, that is basically using the internet, over the internet, that is basically done using the application programming interface. So once you basically take the API of that particular company and you try to keep it in your program, you try to program it and you try to call that API, then definitely all the services which are present in those company, those services will be displayed on your own website. So that is the exact execution and usage of APIs. The another threats are going to be insider threat, botnets, network threats, application threats, OS threats, physical threats. So insider threats are nothing but, guys, whenever you go for such an employees who try to sell your company's data to another company for money, they are basically insider threats. So information leakage. So people will try to share the information for money, or they try to leak the private data for money. That is one. Botnets are there. Botnets are nothing but they try to function on their own. Whenever you go for a PC, so you basically, what attacker will do is he will try to hack one particular computer, and he will program a particular, write a particular malicious program, so that automatically that particular computer will try to attack multiple times to the particular target. So in between, there is one particular computer. So let's say this is basically my computer. This is the target server. And in between, I'll basically take access of another computer, and whatever attack is there, I'll try to perform by using this particular botnet. I can either automate it, I can either do it manually. If I automate it, I can basically take 10 to 15 computers which I hacked. I'll basically install botnets. I'll basically program everything, and I'll basically allow them to perform on their own. So that is basically how bots perform. They basically try to perform on their own. They take commands from the one particular person and they try to execute it. Networking threats are there. Networking threats are nothing but if you try to allow all the users to access the network, and someone is trying to take the information which is passing on the network in the internal network, and he is trying to use some tools like Wireshark to basically see what is happening in the internet, who is browsing which website, what are the user IDs and passwords they are sharing online in the particular isolated network, then definitely it is going to be networking threat. To basically not be a target in the networking threat, you can either use good encryption and decryption in the internal network, and also we can basically limit the number of IP addresses to access that particular network. Now application threads are there, OS threads are there. So application and OS threads are nothing but, so whenever you go for application threads, let's take an example of web application. So in web application, basically you have databases, you have a networking part, you have production, you got testing, you got the whole website, you got payment gateways. So there are different elements which are basically added in one particular website. So whenever there is a threat to one particular one particular part of the website, the whole website becomes vulnerable. So that is why, so there is basically something called as OASP top 10. Either it is an injection attack, either it is an session hijacking, either it is an authentication, either it is some kind of, you can tell, outdated, using the outdated softwares, outdated versions of software, outdated versions of any components, then definitely attacker will take privilege and he will basically go on take the access of the web application. Now, OS threads are there. OS threads are nothing but they basically are completely intended towards the updates. If you don't try to keep your operating system updated each and every time, then definitely you will basically have threats. So if you're using an older version of the operating system which already has the vulnerabilities, and the company, that is Windows, let's say that company tried to update it and remove all the vulnerabilities, but you failed to update your particular system, then the old versions vulnerabilities will be present in your computer and you will not be able to secure your whole computer. Then automatically your whole data will be vulnerable. Physical threat is there. Physical threats are nothing but, guys, physically either you go for bypassing some kind of entering some office without any permissions, or entering some kind of, you can tell, accessing using the ID cards, fake ID cards of that particular employer, and you're trying to employ and you're trying to get the access into that particular office. That is going to be physical threat. There basically, later on we discuss something about phases of ethical hacking. There are basically 5 phases: information gathering, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, clearing tracks. So they are basically 5 different phases of ethical hacking. Now, if you go for the five phases, so here we basically discussed something about HTTP and HTTPS. We basically took an example of ports and port numbers to understand, to get into getting started with the networking part. So whenever you go for HTTP and HTTPS, the only difference is there is advanced encryption in HTTPS as compared to HTTP. So that is why HTTP is not secure. There one more reason is HTTP is being outdated. The better version is HTTPS, and HTTPS is also getting better. There is one more HTTPS 3 that is basically going to be quick, QUICC, that is being used with the meta applications, that is Instagram, Facebook. They are basically using that particular encryption, advanced encryption algorithms. So it is also safe. It is more safer than HTTPS. So here we basically discussed how the traffic is completely forwarded, completely moving from one particular PC to server which is connected to an website. So there will basically be one encrypted tunnel. So in that your data will be passed from one particular location to another particular location. Now here, whenever you go for this PC, there is basically one port number 443 is open, which is using HTTPS protocol to transfer the information, to basically share the information. And at the receiver's end also, port number 443 is open, and it is basically receiving all the information which is being sent from the client. Now in between here, whenever you want to check whether the 443 port are basically good to connect, that time there will basically be a three-way handshake in between. After basically having a three-way handshake, synchronize is sent, synchronize plus acknowledgement is received, and then acknowledgement is sent from the client, that is basically from the PC. Then definitely you will have the successful connection between two different IP addresses. Then definitely they can share the data from in between. So encrypted tunnel will be there, and in this encrypted tunnel you will be using some kind of encryption algorithms like SHA and RSA algorithm, or MD5, any kind of algorithm, and then you will try to encrypt your data. So using the HTTPS will definitely encrypt your data, and if this data basically got losted out of the tunnel, so if this data gets losted, then definitely this data is in encrypted format. It is not getting decrypted. So until the data reaches the destination, till that time the data will be completely encrypted. So we have 65,535 ports, and in that 1024 ports are completely registered on different protocols like HTTP, HTTPS, SMTP, NTP, or you can tell FTP, file transfer protocol, simple mail transfer protocol. So whenever you go for TCP and UDP, so transmission control protocol, user datagram protocol. So here we basically discuss something about data loss. So data loss basically is done in UDP rather than compared to TCP. So in UDP, whenever the data is getting lost, hi, how are you? Question mark is there. Whenever the data is lost, so the data can't be bought back, the data can't be retrieved. But in TCP basically is reliable, and it is basically the it basically plays a major role. Whenever the data being lost on the internet, it can basically replicate the same data, and it can bring the same data back, and it can transfer the data to the destination. Until the data is received at the destination's part, until it is basically completely sent successfully, till that time whatever the data loss is there, whatever the data is getting packets of data, that is basically data present being shared, that is basically jumbled or something happens, it will basically sequence it by using sequencing. So here you got 1 2 3 4 5 6, they are basically sequencing numbers. So each and every packet of data will be given one number, and regarding basically this series, the whole sequence will be again reformed. So if it is jumbled like this, UDP doesn't have the ability to resequence the data, but TCP has the ability to sequence the data. So that is basically how TCP and UDP works. And whenever you go for a difference between TCP and UDP, TCP is completely reliable. It is sequenced. It is acknowledged. And whenever you go for UDP, it is unreliable. No sequencing will be there, and there will be no acknowledgement. So these are basically three differences in TCP and UDP. And TCP is majorly used for the transportation of the data all over the internet. Either it is HTTP, HTTPS, or quick protocol, that is HTTP 3. So this everything in these three different scenarios also, over the internet, whatever the information is being shared, the whole information will be shared in TCP protocols itself. So HTTP, HTTPS are basically integrated towards the TCP usage only. So all the port numbers, that is 1024 port numbers are there, 1024 port numbers are there, and these 1024 port numbers basically are divided on services of UDP and TCP. So either it could be transported in a TCP manner or UDP manner. So majority of them basically intended towards TCP. They follow the TCP protocol. So we basically discuss something about OSI model. So in this OSI model, you basically got 7 different layers, right? In these 7 different layers, the first 3 layers, that is a physical layer, data link layer, and networking layer, they are basically hardware layers. And transportation layer is basically one layer. And fifth, sixth, seventh, that is session, presentation, and application. Top 3 layers are basically towards the software layers. So whenever you go for hardware and software layers, so in between we basically got something called as transportation layer. That is transport layer where TCP, UDP are basically be there, and they are basically connecting the software and hardware layer by transporting the data from one end to another end. So whatever the data sharing will be done, that is basically completely reliable on only one particular layer, that is fourth layer of OSI model. Now here we discuss something about the three-way handshake. So what is exactly a three-way handshake, guys? Three-way handshake basically is intended to build a connection between one particular IP address to another particular IP address. So that is where we basically use a three-way handshake. And one more thing, in three-way handshake, you got basically 3 different flags. First, synchronize is sent from one user, one IP address, and then that is basically the sender's part. And then there is basically it will receive synchronize plus acknowledgement. And again, once it sends the acknowledgement, and whenever this particular process is completed, then definitely you will build a successful connection between 2 different IP addresses. So then the communication will happen. Either client will send the data, either server will send the data. So whatever data sharing will be done, will done after the three-way handshake part. So whenever you go for a TCP, as I told you, So TCP, we basically have 6 different flags. Synchronize, acknowledgement, finish, reset, push, and urge. So synchronize, each and every flag has basically different abilities and different importance. Either it is synchronize responsible for initializing the connection, acknowledgement for confirmation, fin for finished flag, reset for resetting the connection, and push to send basically the buffering data. So as I mentioned in the buffering data, you can definitely uh, take an example of YouTube or any kind of high data streaming platform, which basically can use the push flag to basically push the complete data in advance to basically don't let the data buffering. So to avoid that particular buffering, urgent flag is nothing but to prioritize any work in the connection. So let's say if you're trying to work something and there is basically one reminder, that is either a Skype meeting or Zoom meeting or any of the Teams meeting, that time you can basically use this urge flag to basically stop all the work on that particular laptop and you directly enter the meeting itself. So that is basically how urgent flag will be used. And these are basically different links to install your virtual box, Kali Linux, and also to basically material which is basically required to read about your ports and protocols. So after that, we discuss something about topologies, point-to-point, mesh topology, star, bus, ring, tree, hybrid. So there are basically 7 different topologies, and each different topology has a different application. Whenever you go for point-to-point topology, from one point to another point, the one component to another component, the particular functionality will be done, and it is basically used for the communication. So 2 nodes are there: sender node, receiver node. Now in mesh topology here, there are basically 5 different components, and whenever they want to communicate, this one component will have connection to all the 4 components. It can share the data to 4 different components. Same thing with the second component, it can share data to remaining 4. Again, third remaining 4, fifth, fourth remaining 4, fifth remaining 4. So like that, it is basically completely connected towards each other. That is how mesh topology works. In star topology, in between you got hub. So each and every component, the one node is basically connected to hub, and this hub basically is in between to look for the transporting of the data. So whenever A wants to communicate with B, first A will try to send the data to hub, and hub will basically forward the data to B. So here one problem is that whenever hub doesn't work, this basically works as a central node, and if this central node gets damaged and it is not in a proper working stage, then A, B, C, D, all the components will stop sharing the data. That is, the communication will be stopped. So bus topology is there. In bus topology, we basically go for a coaxial cable connected to all the components. And here, this one cable will connect to all the components. And if this one particular cable is called as backbone, and if gets damaged, then there is no communication between any of the components. That is a disadvantage. In ring topology, same thing again. So here in ring topologies also, it is basically in anti-clock direction the data is shared. And here there are basically something called as repeaters. So these repeaters are basically used to not cause any kind of data loss. So one will send the data to repeater will send the data to the particular receiver's repeater. So if one want to communicate with 3, so this repeater will send it to 2, 2 will send it to 3. So it is basically in this direction, anti-clockwise direction. And here also, if there is some kind of repeater gets failed, then automatically the communication will fail. Let's say one is trying to share the data, communicate with 3, and 2 repeater is basically damaged. Then one cannot communicate with 2, and also will be unavailable to communicate with 3. So there is no communication in between. So automatically the gap will increase. Same thing with the tree topology. Here you have different hubs. So here you have multiple hubs as compared to the before one, that is star topology. We have only single hub, but in tree topology we have multiple hubs. One is central hub, and central hub is connected to secondary hubs. Again, these secondary hubs, here again you can call one more hub. So these secondary hubs can be in a huge number. Central hub will be only one particular central hub. Remaining all secondary hubs will be different secondary hubs, which will be trying to connect with the different components. And then the data sharing will be done. Hybrid topology is nothing but using multiple topologies, either using star and mesh topology, or mesh and tree topology, or tree and you can tell tree and ring topology, something like that. You use two different topologies so that if one topology fails, another topology will be working. Here we discussed something about IP addressing part, how basically IP addresses are assigned, how basically all the DHCP works, dynamic host configuration protocol works. Whenever you go for DHCP, it will basically, there is a process in between here. Whenever there is a laptop who is trying to take the access to a network, then one IP address will be assigned. So in this, it will basically send DHCP discover packet to DHCP server. Then it will receive the IP address offer from DHCP. Then it will request to keep that. Then this particular client will request to keep the IP address. Then DHCP will give the acknowledgement. Yes, you can keep the IP address. So this is basically the backend process whenever you go for IP addresses allotment. So this is it from part 1. Here we basically discussed about firewalls, how exactly firewalls work. Firewalls basically work on one thing that is you need to remember, that is rule sets, guys. It basically works on only rule sets. If you have the right rule set, then you can basically go for the enhanced security part. So whatever rule you are setting, based upon that only firewall will try to work and try to take decisions. In firewalls, it is basically the same again, detailed discussion on firewalls. Skip this. So firewalls are basically of two different types. So here firewalls are intended to be divided into two different types, which are basically in advanced mode. That is either intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system. So IDS, IPS have two different applications. That is either whenever you go for IDS, it will detect the particular you can tell either some kind of unauthorized access or anything, whatever the threat is there. So IDS will try to detect the threat and it will basically send an alert or alarm to the admin. Now, second thing is in IPS, intrusion prevention system. Directly intrusion prevention system will block the access of the intruder. So rather than updating it towards the sending, triggering an alert or doing something, it will directly block the access of the intruder. So IP address will be completely blocked. Now, whenever you go for types of firewalls, we got packet filtering, stateful inspection, and proxy firewall, where packet filtering is intended towards the only networking part. Stateful is intended towards networking and also the infrastructure. And proxy is basically something where the server is basically set it towards the external part. So whatever the attack vector is there, the traffic will be sent to the external server for high security, and then it is basically sent to the particular target. So intrusion detection system, you got two different systems, network based and host based. Network based is completely intended towards the networking part, monitoring the whole network, monitoring the IP addresses, monitoring the data which is being shared, downloads, uploads, behavioral data. So it will basically try to look for the different patterns, everything. Now, whenever you go for host based intrusion detection system basically requires some kind of additional softwares to be installed. After installing that additional softwares on the host, then only it is basically going to work. That is the only drawback in HIDS. So we discussed something about operating systems. In operating systems, we got only two types, that is Windows and Linux. So whenever you go for Windows, it is owned by Microsoft, and Linux is basically here you got two different Linux is basically you can tell inspired from Unix. Whoever created Unix, so Unix is the basic part. After Unix, Linux got basically the inspiration from Unix, and on that one of the advanced version was deployed. That is Linux operating system. So in this we got different things to concentrate on. So one thing is in Windows, we got architectural components, that is kernel, GUI, file system, PowerShell, command prompt, and user access control. So kernel is basically the hardware which basically manages hardware and the system resources. GUI is graphical user interface, which basically helps the users to use any application easily. File system is something related to files. PowerShell is going to be the command line interface of the particular operating system. User access control is basically going towards the authorization, that is the user IDs and passwords. It basically takes care of complete authorization part. Security features, you got user access control. Whenever you go for Linux operating system, you got different types of Linux operating system, that is Ubuntu, Fedora, CentOS, Red Hat, Sushi, Debian, Linux Mint, Oracle, and Gentoo. So these are basically different versions of Linux operating system. So basically in Windows, you got Windows XE, Windows 7, 8, Windows 12. So these are basically different versions. So Windows operating system has always been only one operating system, that is for the Windows desktop, and Windows Server is basically one. Windows Workstation is one, and Windows Home series is basically one. But in Linux, you got these many different number of options, and there are basically two different customized operating systems, that is our Kali Linux, which we used for the whole training, and also the Parrot operating system. So in these two different operating systems, you will get the completely customized all the applications pre-installed in the Linux operating system, so you can use it. Same thing here in Linux operating system also. You got kernel, user interface, file system, everything. So kernel, same thing with the kernel. It manages the core system operations similar to Windows. User interface offers both GUI and command line interface. So here command line interface is going to be Bash, but in Windows command line interface is basically intended towards the PowerShell and command prompt. So file system here commonly used as ext4, known for its efficiency and reliability. And here in this particular different directories, there is a hierarchical structure from root. Root is basically the super user and included standard directories, that is etc, home, where are basically standard inbuilt directories which cannot be deleted. Common features are package management. So package management is nothing but in few versions of Linux operating system, you cannot directly download any kind of applications. So for that, you got package managers like apt is basically for Ubuntu and Debian. Yum DNF is for Fedora and Red Hat. So they help you to install, update, and manage the different softwares which you can't directly do in that operating system. So you definitely need these packages. So shell is there, the terminal is powerful. So shell is basically the command line interface. That is basically the terminal which we used during our program or during our whole internship program also. So it is basically one of the powerful tool by which you can perform different number of attacks. You can target different machines, different websites. You can do lot of activities. You can perform lot of tasks using that particular command line interface. That is a shell. Now, for security features, we got file permission, firewalls. So we already know what is firewall. Whenever you go for permission, it uses the robust permission. That is, permissions are basically, file permission is basically used to definitely use the control the access of that particular system over the files and directories. Now, whenever you go for security vulnerabilities, patch management is basically there. Patch management is basically used for the resolving of vulnerabilities. So whenever you got vulnerability, there is something called as patch management, which will allow you to update the operating system where your older vulnerabilities will get resolved. Performance and stability in Linux. So Linux is definitely used for the servers mostly for its robustness, and Windows is basically majorly used for the enterprises and desktops in normal computers. So after that, we basically discuss something about footprinting and reconnaissance. So in footprinting and reconnaissance, guys, information gathering is there. So in information gathering, we basically discussed two types of information gathering is there. That is organization and that is a person information gathering. Whenever you go for organizations information gathering, you basically go towards the gathering information of domain names, different targets. And whenever you go for a person, you basically go for social media information gathering. So in these two types are there, active way, passive way. Active way involves interaction with the target. That is, you're going to meet the target, you're going to reveal your identity. In passive way, you're not going to reveal your identity, and you're going to you're going to gather information without interacting towards the target. So here, one best way is to go for the search engines, that is target organization. So whenever you go for search engines like Google, Bing, DuckDuckGo, Mozilla, Yahoo, these are basically different search engines we can use. And in this, one of the most powerful search engine is Baidu, and safest search engine is DuckDuckGo, which will try to safeguard your data without sharing anything to the particular websites. So there is a limited data sharing. Data safety is basically intended more towards DuckDuckGo. And if you basically go for a target, that is Amazon. So Amazon, basically whenever you go for online presence of Amazon, it is basically completely towards the domains. So major domain is there, subdomain is there. In major domain, you can basically go where customers will try to interact, and subdomains are basically companies personal work domains, that is either companies delivery sellers, drive.com.amazon.com. These are all nothing but completely intended towards the operations of the internal Amazon company. Tools Kali Linux is there. In Kali Linux, we basically used Whois lookup. We used sublister to gather the information. So let's go for part 3. So we basically discussed about the organization's information gathering. Now, whenever you go for a person's information gathering, here also we got active way and passive way again. So here in active way, with interaction, you're basically going to interact with other neighbors, colleagues, or friends of those particular target. That is basically one part. And whenever you go for a passive way, that is without interaction, you can go with the social media public information. And for private information, you got apps like dating apps. If the profile is present on the dating apps, there you can definitely gather information about likes, dislikes, hobbies, etc., favorite places, or something like that. Now, in information gathering of an organization, we basically used Whois lookup to find the domain names information. So we also use something called a sublister tool to gather the information about that particular domain. So in sublister, guys, one thing is common is we are going to use multiple search engines information to gather the information over the internet. We are going to use multiple search engines to search about that particular organization. Then we are going to gather the information. So whenever you go for domain names, so I guess multiple times I have showed you the practical part regarding this sublister and Whois lookup. So I guess the revision is enough for today. So whenever you go for the maintaining the records of the company, so whenever a particular person buys a domain name and registered his companies online, so that time who basically is intended towards maintaining the records of those domain names, what is basically being sold on the domain name, how where it is getting used. So here we basically got few of the companies registering domain names on internet. So there are basically a few bodies which are going to maintain the records of those companies. So here in each and every specific different areas, either it is America, either it is Latin America, Europe, Africa, and Asia, five different zones are there. In these five different zones, we got ARIN, that is American Registry for Internet Numbers, which basically deals with America's domains. And Latin America and Caribbean Internet Address Registry basically deals with the Latin America part, that is South America. And RIP, NCC, Resox IP, European Network Coordination Center deals with the Europeans domain name. And AFRINIC, African Network Coordination Center, and APNIC is there, Asia Pacific Network for Coordination Center. There are basically different coordination centers, different centers which are going to maintain the records of this registry of domains all over the world. For this also, we basically got different types of bodies which are going to try to monitor those particular domains. So here we got something public information, private information. So where can you exactly find the vulnerable data? We discussed something about Google Docs, or it is also called as exploit DB, where you can find all the vulnerable websites data and you can basically gather information from there. Later on, we discussed about operators which will help you to search, improve your Google search. So either it is URL, title, description, or using a different PDF column or something like that. So Yandex is there. Yandex is basically used to search for images. So if you basically search for an image in Google and image in Yandex, Yandex will basically produce more more good search, more deep search towards that image. So whenever you're trying to search for images, or you are basically expecting some accurate results, then you can go for Yandex search engine, which is again one of the Chinese search engine. So Shodan is there. Shodan is basically used for the IoT devices. So either CCTV cameras, either servers, either any of the IoT automated devices connected to the internet, you can definitely search it on Shodan. So it is basically free for some period of time. Later on, you need to pay for the more information. Later, we discussed something about Maltigo tool, which basically is used for gathering information about an organization or a particular person using email ID or a domain name. Two things are there. So for a particular single person, you can give email ID. For companies, you can give domain name. Again, we came into the scanning networks where we discussed again about the TCP UDP. Again, the flags, whenever you go for the scanning, these are basically different switches. So hyphen capital P for the ports, capital O for the operating system. Small v for the verbose. And whenever you basically want the speed of scanning, you can basically set it to very slow, medium. So T4 and T5 are basically intended to be used more for good results. T0 and T1 are basically used whenever you have a firewall and you don't want the firewall to know that you are trying to get check what is present in the infrastructure, whatever you're trying to scan. If you basically don't want the firewall to block your access, then you will try to do it in a slower way, that is using the T0. So it will not create a lot of noise in the network. It will basically give you a good access. So here we got TCP full scan, that is hyphen S capital T. So here by using this Wireshark, that is network monitoring tool, you can definitely know what are the open ports, what are the closed ports based upon the results projected in the uh, Wireshark. So whatever the results outputs you are getting, based upon that, you can basically look for the usability of these flags. During the communication, whenever there is a three-way handshake and again reset flag is being sent from the particular client, then definitely the port is open. So this type of communication is used for the open port communication. This type of communication is used for the closed port communication. So in this way, each and every flag still scan is there. Still scan basically produces different pattern here: synchronize acknowledgement and acknowledgement for open ports, and again synchronize reset for the closed ports. So different scans basically give you different outputs. Acknowledgement scan is basically used to check whether the firewall is present or not. If the firewall is present, you will definitely not get any kind of reply. You will be trying sending all the acknowledgement packets, but no reply will be there. If the firewall is not present, then definitely you're going to get a reply, that is the reset flag will be sent. See here, 192.168.164.128 IP address. This is basically my own IP address. I send the acknowledgement packet to this particular IP address. Then this IP address sent me the reset flag to my particular IP address. That is, this is my IP address. I got a reply. So whenever you get a reply, firewall is not present. Whenever you don't get a reply, then firewall is not allowing that particular resource to communicate with you. UDP is a fast protocol, definitely. Now UDP doesn't have a flags like synchronize, acknowledgement, anything. It is directly going to send flags. So here we are basically directly sending. So here, if the UDP ports are closed, you will not get any of the reply, but UDP ports are open, then definitely you will get a ICMP unreachable reply. That is, here you will get something called as ICMP. Here exactly how we basically got something called as a reset. So TCP is there. Here you will get the UDP, here you will get ICMP. Same thing here, UDP will be there with following with the ICMP protocol here. That is a reply that you will get. Again, we discuss something about enumeration part. Enumeration is definitely done in a local area network, not on the internet. That is local area, whatever the printers, whatever the devices that are connected to your particular internal network, they are basically used. They are basically used for the information gathering part. In that, we are basically targeting to get to know about the information of number of devices. That is, you can get the configuration of devices, version of devices, operating system of devices, IPs of devices. or open ports, closed ports, the data being shared between one device to another device, every information you can get. But one rule is you basically need to be part of that particular network, then only you can do enumeration. If you're not connected to that network, you cannot get any of the information, as it is a local area network. Now, here we basically saw what are the vulnerable port numbers. So 53, 53, TCP 53, UDP 53, UDP 161, TCP 139, TCP 25. These are basically 5 different ports. In this NetBIOS is basically a port which is basically a network basic input output system which runs on TCP 139. Is basically it will allow you to gather the information about the files which are being sent to the printers. So you can get a lot of information here. Again, this is basically how you can do NBT scan, that is a NetBIOS scan. And here, here DNS recon is there, guys. DNS recon will basically help you to know what are the types of servers which are present in one particular organization. We targeted simplylearn.com and we got information of a record domain names. That is basically the major domain, main domain of the particular organization which are present in Indian location. And name servers are different servers which are running on AWS domain name service. They are also basically different Indian servers. These are also a record servers. Now, if you go for DNS NM, DNS recon, okay. Here we discuss something about vulnerability assessment. So vulnerability assessment is nothing but guys, it is basically testing your product for any vulnerabilities. So in this, you got different steps. That is different ways of vulnerability assessment. That is active, passive, external, and internal assessment. In active assessment, we do assessment on the live traffic. Passive, we basically take the backup and try to examine it for later. And external assessment from hackers' point of view, we try to think. And internal assessment, we take pen testers' point of view. So there are basically 4 different ways, guys. Now there are basically different steps for that. Because here we got something creating a baseline where we are going to pre-assessment phase, taking permissions, prioritizing what are the web servers and what are the exactly our target we are going to test. And in the second stage, we got vulnerability assessment where we are going to find the vulnerabilities and get the report of those vulnerabilities. And in the risk assessment, we are exactly going to rate the risk, whether it is high, low, or medium. Yeah, guys, after rating that particular risk, we are basically going to verify whether it is working or not. And then we are going to keep it for some time in the monitoring mode. So in future, if we have any problem, we are going to monitor it. Whenever you go for the applications, we basically got licensed applications and also the vulnerability assessment different tools which basically work on service based. So whenever you go for licensed, they are basically given for the period of time, and whenever you go for the service based, they are basically for either monthly kind of subscription part. So it is for short term period of time, and license are basically going to be for the long term period of time where you can use it for 1 year or 2 years by paying some upfront payment. Now here we discuss something about the DOS attack. I guess everyone know we have discussed this DOS attack for the 3 to 4 times. So guys, this is basically how DOS attack works. So whenever you go for a DOS attack, we basically have some kind of fake IP addresses. So what DOS attack will exactly do is they will exactly try to attack through this fake IP addresses, and we are going to flood this particular server. So after flooding this particular server, normal users will not be able to use it, and then the whole website will go down. That is the exact target. So now let me just tell you about what are the opportunities that you can see in the future. So let's just move towards the job role. Yeah, guys. So whenever you go for career options in cyber security, so as of now, we basically cleared everything about to create. We basically completed the ethical hacking part. So after completing the ethical hacking part, so what are exactly the top 10 career cyber security list that you can basically find out here? So whenever you go for different verticals here, so as a fresher, what exactly you can target? You can basically target the penetration testing part. That is one thing. You can basically target the penetration testing part, and also you can target the network security engineer, and cyber security analyst is there. And these three, the penetration tester, network security part, and being a cybersecurity consultant will take you around 3 to 4 years of experience. Cloud security will take you around 5 to 6 years of experience, and industry incident response specialist will also take you towards 6 to 7 years of experience. So as a fresher, you can basically target penetration testing, getting a job in network security engineer, that is a network security domain. So whenever you go for this either application layer, application security engineer, cyber security trainer or educator consultant, minimum you need up to like 6 to 7 years or 8 years of experience. Until you are really rock solid good at your subject, then you can basically consider it at 3 to 4 years of experience. And malware analyst, chief information security officer is very far, 15 to 20 years of experience. So in this, each and every different domains will require different years of experience. Now whenever we basically try to tell something about only freshers here, see, according to the Indian market, whenever you go for the Indian market, so here first thing is targeting the network engineer, that is a network administrator. That is one thing. And after that, we got ethical hacker. So we basically discussed till now, we basically discussed the curriculum certified ethical hacker, CEH. Now, whoever want to do certification or something like that, you can definitely go and you can basically take the certification certified ethical hacker. So it will basically cost you around 18 to 20,000 rupees for the certification. You will have MCQs as your questions and answers. So if you are really good, you prepared well, then you can definitely go and take the certification. So in this certified ethical hacker job role, you can cover penetration testing, you can cover cyber security administration, and also you can go for the infrastructure security. Starting from annual package, it will start from 2.8 lakhs, that is 2 lakhs 80,000, that is for the basic part, 15 to 20,000 of salary. And also it can basically go till 15 lakhs, that is for the fresher. Now, information network engineering, that is basically network engineering administrator. It can, so network engineering administrator is nothing but it will include network defender, network security analyst, and malware analyst. So malware analyst is again will take you 1 to 2 years. Network secure, so 4 to 5 years. Network security analyst will take you around 2 to 3 years of experience. You will be on a network engineer and administration role as a fresher. After 1 to 2 years of experience, you will become a network defender. Then you will basically go towards the analyst on your fourth to fifth role in the company. Then sixth to seventh role or eighth year, you will basically turn towards a malware analyst role. Now, after this, you got ethical hacker, then you got information security analyst. So this is for like more than 4 years of experience or 5 years of experience. Sometime it might go for 3 years, but minimum 3 years of experience. So this might take you around 4 lakhs 50 to 24 lakhs based upon your company's background. Then information security crime investigator. This is very rare kind of job role that you can see. It is showing, see, here there are 2 lakh 80,000 openings. Here you got only 5 lakhs 10,000 openings. Here you got 4 lakh 50,000. But here in cyber investigator, crime investigator, you got only 65,000 openings. 65,000 openings. That is the only part. Whenever you go for security consultant, it will take you around again 5 to 6 years of experience, and auditor will take you around 8 to 10 years of experience to reach that part. So auditor also, you only got very few openings, 48,000 openings. Only very experienced and highly potential candidates will be encouraged to be the auditor of the company. They take care of each and every security things which are present in your company, from network, from penetration testing, application security, everything, each and everything will be done by the auditor. So they are basically intended to maintain the whole security for the whole infrastructure of the company. Doesn't matter either cloud, network, doesn't matter. They will be operating all the teams. They'll be heading all the teams. They will show the right direction to the teams. They'll be like leads for all the different domains which are present here. So right now, if you basically go as a fresher, you can start in the networking part. One of the best thing is going towards the networking part. That is, network operation center is one. You will be monitoring the whole network. You will be looking for the list of IP addresses. You will be looking for the you will be monitoring the complete data transfers. That is, what is the data getting transferred? Who is accessing which website? So what are the limitations? Who is an authorized user, unauthorized user? So everything related to network, you will be monitoring here in network engineering part. So this is the first and second two things are there, which you can basically target as a fresher, and average you can get up to 3 to 3.5 of salary. That is for sure in this particular domains. So these are basically two different things you need to concentrate on, and there are a lot of jobs as an ethical hacker and network security engineer in network engineering part. So network engineering basically be only networking part, or else it can move towards also network security engineering part. Whatever you get, you can definitely go and take a job for sure. Now, so what is basically the common cybersecurity pathways? See here again, first thing in each and everything in the feeder role, that is for the fresher role, networking is basically the first thing that you will see. Then software development, this everything is common. So you can basically start from networking part, then you can be a cybersecurity, either ethical hacker or cybersecurity technician or anything. Later on, you can go for cybersecurity analyst, then you can go for a manager administrator. So first thing is you need to concentrate on the networking part. Then only you need to basically move towards different domains. See here, so here engineering is there, top security cyber paths, engineering, digital infrastructure, security systems, creation, implementation, and maintenance. So according to the each and every job role, career path, you basically got job titles. So security engineer, application security engineer, cloud security, network security engineers, they basically intend towards digital infrastructure, security systems creation, implementation, and maintenance. This is basically the purpose of having this job title. In testing part, whenever you go for penetration testing, vulnerability assessor, and security auditor or vulnerability tester, you basically are intended to secure, and you are intended to test towards the web applications. What are the vulnerabilities in web applications? Network evaluation for security vulnerabilities, system vulnerabilities, operating system vulnerabilities. So whatever vulnerabilities are there in one particular organization, either it is application, either it is network, either it is the whole hardware vulnerabilities, that is towards penetration testing, vulnerability testing, and security auditor part. Coming towards analysis. So in analysis, we got cybersecurity analyst. This is basically again 3+ years of experience. Security Operations Center analyst. Security Operations Center is nothing but whenever you go for firewalls, whenever you go for users trying to download, upload, whatever activity is being done in one particular network, and whenever it is intended towards the security, then it will be considered under the Cyber Security Operations Center. Security Operations Center, you will have different access to dashboards, networking dashboard, authorization dashboard, cloud security dashboard. So you will be able to create different alerts. You will be able to create different uh, triggers. So by which whenever you see some kind of different patterns, network patterns, so you find that there is something wrong here, you can basically create an alarm alert. You will basically try to create an alert. So whenever there is a pattern followed, that alert will be generated and you will try to investigate that particular part. So Security Operations Center is completely intended towards monitoring and investigation part. Now intrusion analyst is there. Intrusion analyst is nothing but who is intended towards the firewall, that is completely monitoring part. Threat intelligence analyst is also completely towards the monitoring. Cyber security analyst is a part which is going to look for the different patterns, either examine the risk, how to mitigate the risk, how to patch the vulnerability. Everything will be taken care by this four people. So here, first, these four people will go towards the implementation, maintenance, and creating security baseline. These three, penetration tester, vulnerability assessor, and security auditor, will take care of the testing part, web application testing, system testing, and network testing. And these four different job roles will take care of data, system, pattern of the usability of the data. So what is the pattern? What are the graphs telling? What are basically different whenever they are monitoring, what is the vulnerabilities they can see there. Everything will be monitoring the security will be done by the third part. And whenever you go for analyzing and monitoring here, and whenever you go for the fourth part, incident responder, cybersecurity incident manager, forensic analyst. So this is basically the response team. So whenever there is a data breach, they will be the first responders to minimize and to mitigate the risk completely, to eradicate threats, and also to restore the breached data. So whatever data is basically breached, that data can be again restored by these three different job roles. So this is completely towards 10 to 15 years, 10 to 12 years plus experienced candidates. Auditing is basically towards higher senior levels, that is cybersecurity auditor, compliance auditor, cybersecurity assessor. Here they are going to go towards the whole operations, evaluation will be done. So after the evaluation, what are the best practices for the company to implement so that this could never happen again. So if there is a there are basically 10 to 15 threats. So what is the correct way to mitigate those threats? What is the evaluation method? What is the complete pathway you want to create? That everything you need to take care by these three job roles. So they are basically the highest responsible people who are going to design the architecture. So architecture is designed by these people. It is basically responded by these people if something happens, monitored by these four different roles, and again tested by three different roles. And these four roles basically go towards the complete baseline, that is implementing the whole things. So whatever it is told by these four different job roles, whether it is testing part, analysis team, response team, or auditing team. So these basically engineering team will follow their instructions and they'll try to implement those. So this is basically the baseline, starting from engineering to testing, analysis, response, and auditing. If you basically try to get into this engineering, that is either security engineer, cloud security, or network security engineer, three different job roles, then definitely you can look your pathway in this four different domains which are present below. So this is exactly how it will happen. So guys, if you have any doubts, you may ask. Any doubts, anyone? So certifications skilled needed for testing. So certifications, guys, whenever you go for certifications, first you can start with certified ethical hacker, that is CH. Then you can move towards penetration testing. If you want to go towards penetration testing, you got different things here. Let me just show you. So there are basically different bodies. So first thing, just try to note it down. We got EC Council certification path. See, EC Council certification path is there. 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 See, EC Council certi See, in this EC Council certification part, so here end user is there, executive is there, specialized is there. So first thing you need to start with CEH. So network defense is not required. It is basically going to be the basic one. Start with CEH. After completing CEH, you can definitely go towards let's say after CH, you can go towards a cyber security, network and defense. First learn ethical hacking, take the ethical hacking certification. After completing ethical hacking certification, you can directly go towards a certified SOC analyst, CSA, certified SOC analyst, which is again in monitoring part. First, you need to know how attacks are being done using ethical hacking, then go for the defensive part. This is for offensive part, this is for defensive part. As a fresher, if you basically complete these two different certifications, then definitely you will have a lot of opportunities as a fresher to get a job. So guys, these are basically the certifications, and there is one more body which is not much e-learning platform. Here we got e-learning. Tell me clearly about how to become a certified ethical hacker. So here, this is basically the body EC Council. Go to your EC Council website or else just type CEH certification course. CH certification course. You can get lot of people here. Try to open each and every website. Try to call them. Try to go for the pricing. Try to look which is the cheapest one, who is the best trainer who can train you. They will automatically give you the certification. Let's say CH certification course, Simply Learn is there. Simply Learn is there. If you go for Simply Learn CHB12 certification, so here you got something, let's say, see 49, 50,000 now. Online bootcamp. No, not this one. Or else you can directly go for InfoSec training. Certified Ethical Hacker V12. So these are basically different modules you can find about the course, learning outcome, everything is present. What are the different modules? See, so it is exactly what we have discussed. It is completely same. Introduction to ethical hacking. Just a moment. Is this? See, introduction to ethical hacking, footprinting reconnaissance, scanning, enumeration, vulnerability analysis, system hacking, malware threat, sniffing, social engineering, DOS, session hijacking, IDS, IPS, honeypots. So these are all 20 modules, different 20 modules. Target audience, ethical hackers, system administrators, network administrators. So exam details, whenever you go for exams, you will have 125 questions, complete 125 questions. 4 hours of exam duration will be there. And in this, you need to score minimum 60 to 80%. This 60 to 80%, if the paper is easy, if the questions are easy, then definitely you need to get 80%. If the paper is tough, then 60% will be there. Course objectives are there. You need to look for the trainers, whoever is trying to train you, just try to look at their profiles and then try to get the course. So online there are a number of courses available, or if you want to go for the direct certificate, you can directly go to EC Council website and you can definitely buy the voucher for the EC Council certification exam. See, EC Council is there. Just directly go to EC Council website, EC Council CH. So here, see, you got all the information, marketing, everything. EC Council CH V12 version type, and world's #1 certification for freshers. Just go and try to buy the voucher. After buying the voucher, they will just assist you with some steps. You can follow those steps and you can write the examination. So you can also consult to your college faculty to get this EC Council CH vouchers. So basically, if you have an organizational support, then they will give you a good discount. Good discount for the CH vouchers. So that is the thing. Sir, is OSCP different from CH? See guys, OSCP is very difficult examination. It will cost you around 1 lakh to 1.2 lakhs for the examination. It is only single attempt, completely practical examination. You need to, so the people like me, if I am basically a trainer, I have a lot of expertise. So if I also write it, there are 70 to 80% of chances that I will fail the examination in the first attempt. So don't go for OSCP, try to go for EC Council and try to get CH certification first. After CH, you can directly go for SOC, Certified SOC Analyst. I guess we discussed about CIA triad. So what are the different policies that these people use to secure the employees' data? So everything which comes under the employees' data, you can consider it as a risk assessment and risk management thing. So risk management is completely intended towards securing the employees' data. Still any doubts, guys? Guys, you can also connect me on LinkedIn if you have any doubts regarding your career. You can connect me on LinkedIn. So this is my LinkedIn. You can take a screenshot or you can basically connect here. So this is my LinkedIn, guys. If you have any doubts, if you have anything, if you need any kind of assistance, if you need any kind of advice, please feel free to contact me anytime. You can connect me over LinkedIn. You can search and you can connect, guys. Still any doubts, anyone? Any doubts, guys? So I guess we are good to go. So that's it for today, guys.